It's the Christmas crossover event of the century. This is Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July. Hello again, folks, and welcome back to Xmas AF Holiday Movie Reviews. Well, it is definitely a holiday movie. It does say Christmas on it, but it actually taking place in July. It's not really a Christmas movie. Well, you know what? Screw that. There's like a ton of Christmas characters in here. This movie is truly Christmas AF, or Xmas AF, if you ask me. I mean, look, you got Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, you got Frosty the Snowman and his wife. Frosty's married and has kids in this, actually. And also Frosty is stop motion rather than traditionally animated like he was in the 1969 Frosty the Snowman Christmas TV special. So this movie brings all these Christmas characters together for Christmas Endgame, I guess, is what you could call it. Now, it takes place, I guess, after everybody had their own specials and stuff like that, including Jack Frost, who had his own animated special, Rankin stop motion animated special. Now, throughout the course of this Xmas AF season 2022, I'm sure I'll have mentioned Rankin a million times, because of course I love these movies. The animation I think is great, the music is usually pretty good and pretty catchy, pretty Christmassy. This movie is no exception to that. This was made in 1979. All the animation is really good. The characters are really cool looking, kind of goofy, kind of funny looking, but they all move fluidly, and production values are top notch on this. Now, one thing to note about this is it's actually quite long. It's about an hour and 40 minutes long, whereas most of those other specials were like a half an hour, sometimes an hour. But this one, being such a grand crossover event, it's pretty long. Of course, you got Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. You get Frosty the Snowman, who, as I said, is married and has kids. And of course, you get Santa Claus in here. Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus. You don't see Hermie the Elf. You don't see the Bumble or Yukon Cornelius, which is a real shame because I love those guys. No, but you get Rudolph and you get Frosty, and they're hanging out at the North Pole. And it's the middle of summer, but it's still, of course, it's the North Pole. Which, according to this, there's still trees everywhere and snow everywhere. Even though the North Pole is actually in the middle of the Arctic Ocean, and there is no physical land there. Whatever, it's where Santa Claus lives. Okay, fine, so they're hanging out there, and they get a visit from Milton, the flying ice cream man, comes by in a balloon. And apparently this ice cream man keeps his ice cream at the North Pole. There's no such thing as refrigeration in 1979. What the hell? Okay, well, it's magical, and it's fantastical. And Milton's part of like a circus down in the south somewhere where it never snows, probably. Just like that last Christmas movie. So then along comes like this villain, this guy called Winterbolt, who is he's like the ultimate supreme evil winter sorcerer kind of thing, like Old Man Winter, kind of like you had in Santa Claus is Coming to Town. The guy that Santa Claus danced with in one point. But no, this guy's like totally evil. His name is Winterbolt. He used to rule the land until Lady Boreal came and caused the Aurora Borealis and put him to sleep for 1,000 years and something, and now he's back for revenge and whatever. And he interferes in the lives of Milton the Ice Cream Man and Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Santa Claus. And he messes stuff up because he wants to overthrow Santa Claus and take over the North Pole again. And like I said, dude, it's an hour and 40 minutes long, and there's so much story in this thing. This guy offers to let Frosty the Snowman and his family go down south, and they won't melt. He gives them like magic amulets or something, and they believe this guy, and they're like, "Oh, you're a creepy old winter sorcerer, but okay, sure, sign me up." The kids really want to see a circus, so they all hop in the balloon with Milton the Ice Cream Man. They go down south and they go to this circus, and it's like on the seaside circus or something. I'm thinking it's probably supposed to be like Florida or something. And so it's Rudolph and Frosty go to the circus, is what it is. One thing to note about Rudolph is now he has kind of a new origin. Well, not really new origin, but apparently when he was born, he was visited in his sleep just after he was born by the Lady Boreal, who gives him the power of love and lights and the northern lights and something. Touches him on the nose and his nose glows red. And also in this one, when Rudolph's nose does glow, remember in 1964 it made that weird like like that really high-pitched weird. No, it doesn't make that sound in this one. It's kind of more like a jingling or a kind of a. It's a little more pleasant to the ears anyway. Not quite so off-putting. So he's got the spark of Aurora Borealis. Frosty the Snowman, of course, is animated by his magic hat. I don't actually know if that's the same deal with his kids. Like, do they have magic hats as well to make them animated snowmen, or some other form of magic, or the power of love, or something? I don't know. And he looks okay, I guess, in this stop motion version. It's supposed to take place around the 4th of July, and there's going to be like a big 4th of July celebration at this circus by the beach or whatever, and there's going to be a big fireworks celebration, and that's when the amulets stop working and they have to get back to the North Pole. So they arrange that Santa Claus is going to come pick them up, because Santa Claus, what else is he doing in July, right? But he wants a vacation too, so he's like, him and Mrs. Claus are going to hop in the sleigh, and they go to see the circus, and they're supposed to give Frosty and his family a ride back. Rudolph can fly, of course. Now, the bad guy, the Winterbolt guy, he hears about this, and because, of course, he's trying to manipulate the entire thing. Like, he's setting it up so that he has to, like, frame Rudolph for a crime or something like that, because if he's not pure of heart, then his nose won't glow and he'll lose his powers. So he's also trying to take over the North Pole. So what he does when he knows that Santa Claus is coming down to pick up Frosty the Snowman, causes these huge storms and stuff, and Santa Claus and Mr. Claus just can't get through the storm. They can't even fly. They have to, they're ground-based or whatever. So I imagine that would make it in July pretty tough to get around the continental U.S. to get to this place where the circus is. Anyway, Winterbolt is actually a pretty freaky character. He's kind of cool. Several things to note about this guy. It's like, first of all, he talks to this genie of the ice or something like that, and which is basically just like a big panel on his wall with a face, an icicle face on it, that talks to him in this really weird voice and gives him advice and tells him what to do. And so yeah, you got that. And then Winterbolt, when he finally decides to go down to the circus himself, he doesn't have like flying reindeer, but what he does have is he hooks up like snakes, these like 4 flying snakes, to a sleigh, and then he jumps in the sleigh, and I'm the new Santa Claus now, and he flies out, and it's pulled by fucking evil snakes. It looks so stupid and so hilarious, if you ask me. He's also got some cool dragons. Like, these dragons are responsible for all like the winter winds, and they're the ice dragons that rule the north, and they look pretty neat. They don't really do much, but they do cause like a fog and the storms that Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus get lost in. Winterbolt, as part of his whole evil plan, searches out the like polar opposite of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. He wants another flying reindeer, but he wants like a selfish and lazy and, I guess, evil reindeer. So he digs up this guy who's actually in like reindeer jail or prison or something like that. He digs up this guy called Scratcher, who's just like, weaselly, broken down, lazy ass, piece of garbage reindeer, who apparently got fired from Santa's sled team, and Rudolph took his job or something. More retconning of the backstory here. So he sends Scratcher the reindeer down to the circus ahead of him. Scratcher, he appeals to Rudolph's good nature and says, hey, buddy, can you help me get a job at the circus? And so what happens is Sketcher's like a dirtbag, right? Well, it's not Sketcher, it's Scratcher. Sketchy-ass reindeer. Tries to frame Rudolph for for stealing all the money from the circus. So Rudolph gets caught. So he's not pure of heart anymore, and so he loses his reindeer nose glowing power. Even Scratcher gets his own song or something. Of course, Winterbolt gets a couple songs. Frosty the Snowman gets a song about, how much he loves his wife. And actually they bring back one of the other songs from the original Rudolph, the Misfit song. We're a couple of misfits, what a couple of dipshits. Or something like that. Later on, Winterbolt has to make this deal with Frosty because he knows that Rudolph never did this thing. He's not a thief, and there's no way that Rudolph would commit this crime. But everybody else is like, "Oh, Rudolph, you suck! Get out of here!" Frosty's the only one that knows this, so Winterbolt is like, "Well, in order to save Rudolph from his fates, you're gonna have to give me your magic hat." So Frosty is like, and this is the one thing that he does in the entire movie, sacrifices his hat, which gives him life, and gives it to Winterbolt, thereby turning him back into a regular snowman and gives his own life for Rudolph. And then, of course, Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus can't make it, and so all the snowmen melt because the amulets run out of power and of time, and Winterbolt's like, "I win, haha!" And but Rudolph, he takes off, and he has a rendezvous with like this whale. This giant whale comes out of the ocean, and he's got like a clock on him, and his name is Big Ben the Time Whale or something, because I think he was featured in Rudolph's Shiny New Year or something, which is another previous Rankin Bass and a magic special. Yeah, and then Rudolph realizes after talking to this whale that, hey, there's no way that I did this, and he learns the truth about what actually happened. And so the whale says, well, I'm gonna go get somebody, so I'll be back soon. So they all get back to the circus, and Winterbolt's there, and the snowmen have melted and all this, but the circus owners or whatever are on Rudolph's side, and they learn the truth about what happened, and that Scratcher is actually just a dirtbag, and it was him that was responsible for this crime. And anyway, the circus lady, the owner of the circus, wears a cowboy hat all the time. She sings all these songs, and she's like voiced by Ethel Merman. I don't know if you know who Ethel Merman is. You wouldn't forget her. Yeah, that's for sure. She's she's this super powerful voice. She sings like really epic songs, and she's unlike any other singer I know. Anyway, so she's like, she wears a cowboy hat, and she's shooting guns all the time, and she's like the sassy, no nonsense kind of lady. And for whatever reason, she actually shoots at Winterbolt, and it kills him somehow. Or it doesn't even kill him, it turns him into a weird ass, like, withered old tree with a face on it, and I don't know, just got all trippy there in the end. And it's like, what the fuck is going on here? And all his magic spells wear off, and Santa Claus shows up, and so does the whale, but he's carrying Jack Frost. So Jack Frost shows up, and Jack Frost, what he does is he breathes on the puddles of water that used to be snowmen, snow people, and he brings them back to life, and they give Frosty his hat back, and he comes back to life. And so Santa Claus is like, okay, we got to get you guys back to the North Pole. And Jack Frost is going to breathe on them the whole way to make sure they stay frozen. And the circus is saved, and everybody's happy, and Merry Christmas on the 4th of July. But I gotta say, overall, I actually really liked this. It was very long, but it was engaging, and I kind of like the characters, and I like the sketchy reindeer, the Winterbolt and his dragons and his snake wagon that he flies around in. It's just crazy and kind of goofy. I guess it's fun for kids. This is unlike most of the other Christmas animated specials I've watched. Wouldn't say I like it as much as maybe the original Rudolph. But this is one of my new favorite Rankin Bass Animagic specials. So I'm going to go ahead and give Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July a B+. That was quality. I liked seeing those characters. I like hearing the music, and yeah, B+. So until the next Christmas themed movie review, happy holidays out there, everybody, and stay safe and be good to each other. And, you know, if your friend happens to be dying, give him your magic hat and sacrifice your life to save his life. This is what Frosty would do.